everyone, welcome to IS323 recording for week 7. This is the last recording for this class. The reading this week is tutorial 4 and tutorial 5. The week 7 discussion, the initial post is due Wednesday. Answer the 2 elements in the discussion. Don't forget your APA reference and in-text citation. 3 replies are due by Sunday. There is a discussion for week 8, which is due Tuesday, but please do not post to it until Monday so you can get participation in for that week. The week 7 assignment is the Willet Creek case problem 2 from tutorial 5. It's due Sunday at 11:59 p.m. Using your editor, open the WC style sheet, change the name, enter your name and date in the comments section, and save it without the TXT. Then you're going to use the import rule to import the style rules from the WC designs. So what we have here is we have the way it looks when we first start, and these are the changes that we're making. So we're mainly making changes to the styles. And here is the import, and you can find more about that code on page 346. So you want to write the rule so that it should only be used with screen devices. Next, you're going to go to the Flex Layout Styles. That's again in your style sheet. And you're going to create a style rule for the page body that displays the body as a flex box oriented in the row direction with wrapping. And to learn about flex box, go to see page 371. So this is the body as a flex box. So I'm only giving you part of the code. So you'll need to go to the page to see what else needs to be added in there. Next, you're going to add a style rule that sets the flex growth, shrink, and basis size values of the whole list navigation. So this is nav whole, and this is what you need in it. Of course, that code you'll find on 377 to 378. Then you're going to add a style rule that sets the flex growth, shrink, and basis size of the article element. So we have the article element, and these are the things that you need, and this is basically similar to the other flex things that we've done here. Then you're going to add a style rule for the article element styles that display the elements as a flex box in a row direction with wrapping. So that's all of this here. Then you're going to, the 2 items within the article element are a section element with ID stats and a section element with ID summary. So you're going to do these separate. You have your article section with stats and your article section with summary. And then you're going to do them with the flex that it tells you to do with growth, shrink, and basis values. Then you're going to create a style rule for the summary section. So you have your stat section and then your summary section. And then you're going to do the aside element contains advertisements for other services offered by the Willet Creek Resort. And you're going to add a style rule that displays this element as a flex box in row orientation with wrapping. So this is the aside. And then information about individual services are saved in the div element within the aside, so that's why we have a side div. And you're going to create a style rule for the div element within the aside to set the flex growth shrink values to 1 and the basis value to 180. So that's what this is here. Next, you'll design the layout for the mobile version of the page. So you're going to go to Mobile Styles section, the mobile style section, and you're going to create a media query for the screen devices. So this is part of the media query. You can go to page 347 to check out the rest of the code. And then under the mobile layout, Michael wants a navigation list containing links to the 18 holes on the course displayed near the bottom of the page. So you're going to create a style rule that sets the flex order of the whole list. So no nav whole list, and it's talking about the order to 99. So this is your order here. And you're going to create a style rule that sets the flex order of the footer to 100. So here's the footer, and there's the order for the footer. To reduce the clutter, Michael wants the horizontal navigation list at the top of the page to be hidden unless the user taps a navicon. So this creates a hidden menu system by adding the following style rules. So this is your nav horizontal display, and this is the navcon that you're creating. And you can find that information on page 395. Then Michael wants to hide the aside element when the page is viewed on a mobile device. Add a style rule to accomplish this. So this is your aside you're going to display, but what is the answer over here? That's something you'll have to look up. Next, you'll create the styles that you will be used for tablet and desktop devices. Create a media query for all screen devices with the width. So here's again your media query, and I gave you the page number on the other slide. So, and then you're going to create a within the media query, you're going to create a style rule that hides the display of the navcon, which is basically this part here. For these wider screens, Michael wants the horizontal navigation list to be laid out within a single row. So you're going to create a style rule that changes the display of the unordered list element within the horizontal navigation list to a flex box. So this is the nav horizontal unordered list, and that's how we do the flex box for it. And it's similar to the others that we already created. Step 20, you're going to save your changes and open the HTML hole 1 in your browser or your device emulator, and then you can find that you can emulate a tablet by going to developer tools. So this is Google Chrome, and you go to more tools, developer tools, and then here's basically how you emulate a mobile device. You change to a mobile, and then you can change, just check and see how it looks on a mobile, and that's how you do that part. Okay, then let's see what else it says. So it wants you to verify the mobile size devices, verify the navigation list, are they hidden, and so forth. And then use the course navigation links on the page to view information for each of the 18 holes. Verify that the layout matches that shown in figure 560 for each page in both mobile and desktop. Zip all of the files the way they come in the folder. Just zip them all together, and that's what you're going to submit. Make sure you check your CSS file for that it validates. That's really the only one that we changed that much, so you only need to validate the one. Now the final exam is due Sunday. It may only be taken once. Know the difference between a WAN and a LAN. That's on page 4. Text-based browsers when capable of displaying images. XHTML version 1 is a reformulation of HTML 4.01. Know what are employed to send directives to browsers regarding how a page should be rendered, page 9. Markup validators look at the doc type to determine which rules they should check the document against. Know how to mark an extended quote, page 27. Know the text level elements, page 27, figure 1 through 116. Type equals text / CSS represents the style sheet language. Know another way to insert a special symbol. That's on page 33. Know the attribute to align text on the page, page 36. To link to an anchor, you would use the href attribute. When referencing a file located in a different folder than the link tag, you must include the path for the file. And we've seen that by using the CSS / and then the name of the file. So, be able to interpret relative path names. That's on page 61. What is the set of rules that governs how information is exchanged? Page 64. FTP servers can store files that internet users can download or transfer to their computers. Map elements can be placed anywhere within the body of the web page because they are not actually displayed by the browser, but used as references for mapping hotspots to inline images. The Mail-to protocol is used to open a user's email client and address new messages. When linking videos, you should specify size info, type of video, and tips for viewing. Know what URL represents in the code. So here's the code. What does the URL represent? Oh, I don't know if that had a page or not. I didn't look. No, I didn't give you a page number, so. Style commands can also be added to embedded style sheets as long as they are placed between the opening and closing style tags. Browsers support 5 generic font groups, page 115. I think it's 5 generic font groups, page 115. What is the tint of the color? Page 99. The color scheme that uses 2 hues close to one another on the color wheel, in which one color is the dominant color and the other is the supporting color, used only for highlights and nuances, is what? That's on page 104. A typeface in which a small ornamentation appears at the tail end of each character is called what? Page 115. The web font format that supports Internet Explorer is embedded open type. What would you use the pseudo class for? Page 149. Know how to apply a style to all elements in a document. Appendix C1. The CSS box model is composed of a series of concentric boxes containing element content. Know what keyword tells the browser to scale the image in order to cover all the background while still retaining the proportions of the image. That's on page 269. Floating an element takes that element out of the normal flow of the document and positions it along the left or right edge of its containing element. Know how to set the border width, page 273. The width taken up by an element is calculated as the total width equals content width plus padding plus border width. Know which pseudo element can be used to create a drop cap page. 218. A drop cap, sorry, I didn't say that right. Know what the scroll value of the overflow does, page 240. Know which property allows you to define a rectangle region through which an element's content can be viewed, page 243. The text decoration style can be used to make the underline not appear for links. Say you don't want your link to show an underline, that's what it's talking about. An HTML table element can mark table header, table row, and table caption. By default, most table borders are displayed in 2 shades of gray that create a 3-dimensional effect. A pre-formatted text table contains only text, evenly spaced on the web page in rows and columns. The table frame types are shown in the picture, so you need to know what these are. Recognize the frame values: 1 box, 2 above, 3 below, 4 sides, 6 RHS, 5 LHS, 7 VS sides, and 8 void. So these are the explanations of all of those that I just went through. By default, cell text is placed in the middle of the cell, aligned with the cell's left edge. If 2 borders have the same width but different styles, double borders have the highest priority. Know how to mark table rows, that's on page 459. Recognize a selection list and know what it is, page 531. Know what element is used to mark a form, page 504. Know the difference between a hard wrap and a soft wrap, that's page 542. Know the difference between server-side validation and client-side validation, page 559. How would you allow customers plenty of room to enter input information, page 541. Each measurement of a sound wave is called a sample. Sample resolution is sometimes referred to as bit depth. An audio clip should provide users with important information that cannot be conveyed in any other way. In the Object tab, the Type attribute indicates the type of data to be embedded. ActiveX controls are identified using the Class ID attribute. The loop equals loop attribute of the video element automatically restarts the video clip when it is finished playing. Internet Explorer inserts the Flash Shockwave player as an ActiveX control. A language called Oak was modified in 1995 and renamed Java. In the Applet tab, the Code attribute specifies the file name of the Java class file. If you want to make an interface animation, create an SWF file. Know what insert keyword does when working with a box shadow style. That's on page 291. Internet Explorer filters can be applied only to objects that have a defined layout on the page. If no angle is specified, the browser determines the gradient direction based on the location of the starting point. Know how to create a graphic border, that's on page 282. Speech media device does not use the characteristic paged. Know the difference between widows and orphans, page 418. To define styles under landscape orientation, use the media rule, setting the orientation to landscape. How are graphic images or photos sliced? That's page 280. Web pages are text files written in hypertext markup language, HTML. Know how text level elements elements appear, page 28. You can quickly change an HTML document to an XHTML document just by altering the first 3 lines of code. That was by Carey, but it's an older book than the one we have. The top element in the hierarchy is the HTML element, which contains all of the other elements within an HTML file. What is the home page? And that's on Appendix E1. What design principle applies to the protected section of a website? And that's Appendix A5. A client-side image map is an image map that is defined within the web page and handled by the web browser running on a user's computer. Know the difference between color values and color names. That's on page 97. One approach to retaining the consistency of web page text is to use relative units, which are expressed relative to the size of other objects within the page. The font face rule is one example of a CSS rule which specifies a command or directive that controls how browsers interpret and run the contents of a CSS style sheet. Why should you use a grid page? Page 222. I'll keep reading it wrong. What is a drop cap page? Page 218. I think we talked about how to do a drop cap. Now you want to know what it is. Recognize the values of the overflow property, page 240, figure 359. The z-index property stacks overlapping objects with the highest z-index value on the top of the others. Decreasing the width of a table's border to 1 pixel will not remove the border between the cells. As long as you have a border around the entire table, you will always have a line separating individual table cells. Border type is another separate, default, or collapse. Border type is either separate, the default, or collapse. That's on page 44. Although a single web page can contain more than one form, the most common approach is to create a single form in a web page. When the input tag is used to create radio buttons, all buttons share the same name. The post method sends form data in a separate data stream. Video has become one of the most popular methods of sharing information on the web. It is a mistake to assume that a higher bitrate always results in better video quality. The number of samples taken per second is called the sampling rate. Internet Explorer supports a technology called ActiveX to play embedded media. When working with the Internet Explorer drop shadow filter, a direction value of 45 is used for shadows located in the upper right corner, 135 for lower right shadows, 225 for lower left shadows, and 315 for upper left shadows. Style sheets cascade through the media types in the same way they cascade through a document tree. When working with the box shadow style, the color value can be placed either before or after the shadow offsets and dimensions. There is no HTML attribute to change the border style, but many browsers allow you to change the color by adding the border color attribute to the table element. Know how to organize selection lists into distinct groups. That's on page 535. The placeholder automatically disappears as soon as the user selects the input box. Know the input type that that hides the input text. That's page 509. What is the window called where web pages are displayed? Page 352. By default, browsers display tables without table borders. By default, browsers offset ordered and unordered lists from the surrounding text. And this is the reference, and you don't need to read that. So that was quite a bit for the final. I tried to cover everything and give you the page numbers. It might help you if you have already subscribed to my highlights, because I highlighted everything. So I hope that will help. If you have any questions, please let me know.